Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We invite you to gather your candles, the challah, your family around, whether they're with you physically or whether you're joining us through the virtual world, and we gather as a community on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Boxcast. We'll begin this Shabbat together by lighting our candles. The blessing is found on page 2 in our prayer books.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. We welcome everybody as we take account of our week. We'll begin our service with the words of Hine Matov, how good it is for us to be together. And so however we're joining, we make this a moment of blessing, a moment when we can be together as a community. So pull your children close to you if they're near you. Some people even text their family and remind them that now's the time for us to join in Shabbat together as we all begin our Shabbat service. Page 10 in our prayer books, the words of Hine Matov, how good it is to be here and to be with each other. There's a prayer in our prayer book. It reminds us that today is supposed to be the beginning of a feeling that is different. Not in the way the weather feels or the way the world looks, but in the way that we feel and the way that we approach others. It says that there are days when we seek things for ourselves, but on Shabbat we seek not to acquire but to share. That there are other days when we exploit nature, but on Shabbat we stand in wonder, silent before the mystery of creation. That on other days we act as if we care first for ourselves and perhaps at times nothing for the rights of others. But on Shabbat we remember that justice is our duty and a better world is our goal, and that's why we embrace this day, for the way in which we will change on this day of rest, this day of wonder, this day of peace. And so we share the words, page 13, Shir Chadash, may we sing a new song as we change our direction towards our world. Page 13 or page 131 if you have the larger volume of our prayer book. Shir
song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, I will all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai, Kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai, Shir Chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
We welcome Shabbat, L'chadodi, page 20 or page 138.
L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'letchila. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki himekor habracha, v'rosh mikedem v'nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'mashvat tila. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orach umi ori, ori, ori sher daberi, kavod Adonai alayich nila. L'chadodi,
L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please rise and face the entrance to your home. Bo'hi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gama v'simcha v'sochola, tochem ule, am segula, bo'hi chala, bo'hi chala.
L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please turn to page 26 or page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadav, yikadav, shemei rabba, ve'amad yivrach yirutei, ve'amlich machutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchayedecho ve'Yisrael, bagala, bagala, uvizman kari ve'meru, Amen. Yehesh me Rabba Mavarach. Le'alam Ame Almaya Yitbarach. Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitpar Vitrama Vitnasi. Vitadar Vitale Vitalel. Shemed Kudasha Barichu. Le'elam in Kobichata Vashirata. Tushbechata Venechemata. Da'amira Be'alma Vimaru. Amen.
O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. Let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight, and your light will release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. We rise as we turn to page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da.
A prayer not found in our prayer books. O God, show us how to fashion holiness from waste, uncovering sparks in the broken shells of people beaten down by circumstance and mired in the boredom of hollowness. Instruct us in sympathy, that we may learn to tear away at hopelessness and the groan and oi of despair by stories, jokes, and astonishing embraces. Give us insight and vision. Show us life in all its glory, and we will glorify your name here and now, everywhere and forever, as we take note of the way in which our day changes to night, in which darkness can be seen as something that helps us to see the greater light and bring about a blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Ahavat Olam, page 32.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavita, Amcha ahavita. Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadita, Otanu limadita. בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ומצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, נהגה יומם ולילה. באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Please join us in the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malachuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in thy heart, shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
One of the reasons we come to a synagogue or a church or a mosque is so that we can sing with other people, so that we can hear the voices of the many. It's one of the most obvious differences of these days. And so we invite you to sing with us, to add your song, your voice, as if you are singing in a room filled with people. As our prayer book says, sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, of an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home, to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, and the song of peace. So wherever you are and whoever you are with, let us be together now as we join together, page 40 or page 158, the words of Micha Mocha. Give us a place to rest, God. Bring us into the shelter of our world and our community. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with the morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai.
Amen.
Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai.
Please rise as we prepare for our most personal prayers, the prayers that call upon the names of our patriarchs and matriarchs, that call us to look back upon the generations of our own family, but also invite us to add words in this moment as we turn towards our future. Page 46, the words of our Amidah. Please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachav, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol. וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרא צרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידה מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
You may be seated if you would like. We had to have some work done in our house that brought a serviceman out, and earlier today, as he was masked and covered up, he shared that he was new at this job because he had lost his job the day after he lost his mother back in March when the pandemic began, and this was a slightly similar but different job that he was getting used to, and that yesterday he had lost his father-in-law and still came to work because he doesn't take any of it for granted anymore. These stories that would be remarkable at any other time seem to be too mundane, too repetitious, redundant to too many of our families, that people have experienced job loss and human loss, and yet there's a strength from within. The prayer on page 57, page 175 in the larger version of the prayer book, asks us to take note of that strength within and to honor it in the midst of these prayers. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, it reads. In our longing to feel your presence and do your will, you are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us and anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers and pray that we may find you and find courage and insight and endurance as we let our worship bring us closer to one another, to all Israel, all who seek you. May they find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Page 60, page 178, the words of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol ed ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Please take a moment for silent meditation.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו.
We take our prayers for peace, and now we turn them towards those who we know are in need of healing, as we wish for them a refuah shlema, full sense of returning to their strongest selves. Page 253 in our prayer books, or page 371 in the larger version. For those who are joining us on a platform that allows you to type into a chat, we invite you to add any names into the chat during the midst of the prayer. For those who are not, you're welcome to say names aloud wherever you are, as those names become part of our prayers, and we pray those people who you think of in this moment find strength and healing. Misha Barak, page 253.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless
sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. When I was training to be certified as a chaplain in the hospital, my supervisor gave us some advice in the very first week. Advice that I imagine many of you in the medical profession may have practiced during your times in the hospital as well. She said, when you feel the weight of visiting patients in the ICU or the cancer floor, or when you've just lost a patient who you've come to love, you can always go visit the third floor. The third floor is the nursery. It's where all the newborn babies are, where bells ring every time a new life is brought into this world, and where hope and optimism are overwhelming. And if you were lucky, if you went to visit the third floor, sometimes there'd be a family that would let you hold one of their children, just hours or days old. We're in the 9th month of the pandemic, which means I had 2 baby namings and 1 family expecting this coming week. We're at a time where we're in deep need of that third floor. A time when I have felt so privileged, so lucky to be with families as they put a shining light of hope into a world that we've been exhausted by. Much like I felt when I was in the hospital and could press a button and go to the third floor and see row after row of hope-filled families and babies smiling and crying, ready for a full life. Being with these families this last week was a much-needed dose of hope and optimism as they welcomed a child into the world. The thirst for such a feeling is palpable amongst the strange faces of strangers who I see on these Zoom calls, people I don't know, but who I can see in them are not just happy to be there, they've been waiting to be in this moment. Certainly it's true among the grandparents, the siblings, the parents themselves, but even among those who perhaps are more distant from the immediate birth. They're thirsty for that hope, and so are we. And so as I officiated at these namings, I thought about the blessings we were saying and where they fit with that moment. There are 2 seemingly opposing blessings that we say in a baby naming as we welcome a child into the world in our tradition. The first, many of us know well, because it's a blessing we say in some ways all the time. Shechianu. Thank you, God, for bringing us to this moment, for allowing us to reach this time. It reflects what we feel in the presence of a newborn, and it makes perfect sense. We're in the midst of such joy, of something that feels like a miracle, of such happiness and hope that we take a moment to acknowledge how blessed we feel. But there's another blessing, a blessing that gives the child a name. Only said at this life cycle ceremony, it says, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, first calling upon the names of our ancestors, and then continues, Kain tikanes leTorah u'chupa u'ma'asim tovim. May this child reach the blessings of studying Torah, of finding a life partner, enjoying the blessing of a chuppah, and of doing good deeds. Shechianu is about the immediate moment. It's about the joy we are experiencing right now, that we have to stop time in order to say how lucky I feel right now. The naming blessing is about the distant future, about the years that we will have to wait until we get to experience these great blessings of learning and companionship and of doing good deeds. It is about Torah, a 13-year wait to be called to the Torah as a bar or bat mitzvah. It's about what we pray as parents is hopefully decades before we bless our children under a chuppah. And it's about ma'asim tovim, good deeds that Deuteronomy tells us only come when we have free will. Something I'm still waiting to see if I have. I love the interplay between these two blessings. It's Judaism's reminder to us to have patience, to not just embrace this moment and look for joy that is immediate, but to know that real blessings come over time. It's what psychologists have described as the difference between having present time perspective and future time perspective. Present time is focusing on the now, enjoying life to the max, as much as you can. And I think we all know what this feels like, especially in these moments. For whether we've been literally pregnant or just felt the weight of these last 9 months, in a myriad of other ways, we are ready to say Shechianu right now. We are thirsty for the ability to get out and celebrate. And yet, we cannot, because the weight of this pandemic is not over. And so we have to have the other perspective, the future time perspective. And that's what I want to celebrate tonight. We've been living in a future-focused world forced upon us that has starved us of that experience of Shechianu for 9 months. It is a long time, but we have to remember, as one psychologist wrote, that a future time perspective on life represents one of the most outstanding traits of individuals. And I want to share a post from my friend and Rabbi Jeff Middleman. Jeff, who spoke from this bima 3 years ago, is the director of Sinai and Synapses, the nonprofit that he founded that lives at the intersection of religion and science. And here's how he looked as a rabbi and a lover of science and data, how he looked at last week and wrote the following the day before Thanksgiving. He said, "Yes, there are posts out there saying I'm getting together with a large group of people as a point of rebellion. And yes, I find that infuriating. But I think it's also a reaction to how it's framed. And here's where it gets tricky. Getting together with friends and family gives immediate, right now pleasure. It feels good. It's local. It's personal and concrete. And it's with people who we know and love. It is, as those psychologists would say, it is a present perspective." He continues, "Asking people not to do that entails thinking about the future. It feels bad. It has an impact that's more global and anonymous and abstract with people we don't know at all. And that second choice is a really, really hard one to make." And here's where he gave us the opportunity to be grateful. He writes, "So what's amazing about this week? Most people are making the hard choice. According to the New York Times, 73% of people planned to have Thanksgiving with just immediate family. That's 73% of people who looked at the long road. And for comparison, he does his research. 79% of epidemiologists made the same decision. So the difference between the epidemiologists and the average person is just a fraction of the population. So give thanks this year, he says, that in spite of the hypocrisy and the shaming and the trolling, that's out in our world, in spite of sometimes inconsistent and confusing public messaging, in spite of the exhaustion that we're all feeling trying to make dozens or hundreds of small individual decisions, in a fog of uncertainty, in spite of millions of years of evolution that have trained us to jump at the opportunity in front of us and ignore the long-term future, most people are acting responsibly. Most people are thinking of the future, and most people are thinking of others and not themselves. Most people, most of us, perhaps all of us in some way, have been saying the blessing that now is not the time for celebration, but that time is coming. And for every time we criticize someone who makes this a Shehekianu moment by having a huge party, by pretending that the wait is over, we should thank 3 times more people who are doing the hard work, who are staying home and staying healthy, who are suffering for not seeing their family, who are making the sacrifice, putting their bets on the future. The same way our tradition does with a newborn child. And if we are those people, as I know most of us are, we should be proud of ourselves because we did a lot of hard work and we made a lot of sacrifice. Let's spend our time being proud of what we've done, by the way we've honored this time, by practicing patience and restraint. It is hard work. It's not filled with highs here and there, but rather with a steady pace of boredom at best, and it's often punctuated by loss. It's been 9 months, and yet this marathon is not over. I would say, turns out we're still pregnant, more pregnant than we want to be. But we're a people who have always found strength in the past and hope in the future, a people who know the long arch of history and have waited many times for that Shehekianu moment. So we wait, and soon enough, we will bless with joy. How great will it feel to say the words of Shehekianu? How sincere will it be to say, God, we are so grateful to have made it to this moment, when that moment comes. It'll be like visiting the 3rd floor, seeing rows and rows of newborns. It will be our families overflowing with hope for the future and the future of our children, just as our tradition reminds us every time a child is born. We wait because the wait is worth it, because in this case, at least, the best things come to those who take the time and to wait for them. Shabbat Shalom. Aleinu, page 282. Please rise with us.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latik gdula liotzer v'reishit, shelo asan kiguye haratot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kachol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Livnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar V'haya Adonai L'melech al kol haaretz V'yom hahu Yiyeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad.
Yesh kochavim she'oram magia arza. There are stars up above. So far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways that we remember. In our community, we remember those whom we've lost in this past month: Jack Kent, Marvin Wolfson, Michael Jacobs, and Gail Schlossberg. We add to their names those that we've lost at this season in years past. William Edward Cartwright Sr., Melvin Cohen, Morris Flignor, Sandra Rosenthal Frank, Arthur Friedman, Robert M. Goldsmith, Joseph C. Gordon, Gaston G. Gross, Julie Hagan, Mildred P. Handler, Carl Katz, Jean K., Ruth Kodesh, Marion C. Kucherman, Rose Henkin Kupperman, Mildred L. Lieb, William Lieb, Ann Light, Mo Light, Edna B. Miller, Dr. Noah Miller, Iz Moses, Hope Newman, Randy Ostroff Sass, Harold Hal Pressman, Lottie Reeder, Herman Rogovi, Herbert Maxwell Rosenblatt, Seymour H. Rosenblatt, Mary J. Schott, A. Lewis Schwartz, Phyllis R. Seidman, Richard N. Shine, Edward A. Whitelaw, Dr. Robert Waldman, Adam Wolf, and Bernie Wallner. We rise now as we share the words of Mourner's Kaddish. We invite you to add any names you would like to remember at this time that we may not have mentioned as we honor them and honor life with these words. Yit Kadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agalau v'zman kariv v'meru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yit barak v'yishtabach v'yit ba'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar v'yit halev v'yit halal, Shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Having connected with those that we've loved and lost, we connect with each other as we bless each other, those near and those far, with the words of the priests. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
Please join us for Kiddush and Motzi. If you have a Kiddush cup nearby and you have challah, please gather them by, and we'll share the blessings, page 4 and 5 in our prayer book.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesh be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron la'maseh bereshit ki hu yom techila la'mikra'e kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodechecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
A couple quick announcements. Next week, we're honoring Dale Reddington and during our Hanukkah service. Hanukkah is here, in fact, and so we hope you'll join us virtually. Some of you may see yourselves or your friends if you send in videos. We have a really special service planned with Tim Culver's voice included as we begin Hanukkah together. So please join us next week to honor Dale and to celebrate Hanukkah together. The following week, we have a guest, Marcia Belsky, as she joins us with her comedy that we're calling it The Lighter Side of Shabbat and just post-Hanukkah. But we hope you'll join us for Shabbat services as we laugh together and laugh on Shabbat as we close out the secular year with some of our last Shabbatot together. A special program on the 13th. In between those two Shabbats, Friends of the Maltz Museum was very wise and invited Cantor Kathy to help them put together a family-friendly program for young and old alike that will be at 5:30 on Sunday the 13th, and you'll join by Zoom. And so Cantor Kathy is one of the leaders. We'll be sending out an email so people can join, but mark your calendars for the 13th for a wonderful program put together also by Courtney Krieger, who grew up in our congregation, had a big hand in it as well. And so we'll tune in for that program on the 13th at 5:30. We'll close with the words of Or Zarua. We thank Noah for joining us once again. We've missed him these last few weeks, but we'll join with this prayer that we highlighted at the High Holy Days as is part of our theme this year, that we are finding ways to bring light into the world. Even during dark days, we find our way to bring light out. And so Or Zarua is the closing song for this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Na 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 must raise our voices high. We must hold each other tight. We must stand up in the night and be alive. Or Zarua la tzadik hu Yisrael ev simcha. Or Zarua la tzadik hu Yisrael ev simcha. Namena, 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 namena. Shabbat Shalom.